Next is County Administrator Update. Today, I actually want to update you on your emergency declaration you filed 1 week ago today, 7 days ago, regarding food scarcity in Clackamas County. You directed staff to come up with a proposal on how to spend up to potentially $100,000 in county general funds to support, mostly at this point, food insecurity, as well as potentially women, infant, and children, WIC, loss of formula. So here's what staff has come up with, and I'm prepared to implement it unless you have any concerns. Here's what we propose: $50,000 to Clackamas Service Center to distribute to food pantries throughout their network in the county. Because Clackamas Service Center serves all of Clackamas County except for 3 communities, to then give $10,000 each to 3 food pantries that is not served by the Clackamas Service Center. They are Estacada, Colton, and Sandy. So that is a total of $80,000. Hold on the remaining $20,000 to see if there's any movement on the federal side for the women, infants, and children WIC formula. If there's no action by next week, then I'll come back to you with a proposal how to spend the remaining $20,000 related to the WIC formula. So that is my proposal. I don't need a motion, but I'm prepared to implement this today unless you have any concerns, which I'm here open to hearing right now.
Thank you, Gary. And Commissioner Hill.
So this is only for formula?
The $20,000 would be to support women, infant, and children. I believe it was related to formula, but
WIC.
WIC.
WIC. It's to support WIC stuff,
WIC, the WIC.
including formula.
Including formula, not just for formula, but for funding related to the WIC program
okay.
that's being not supported by the loss of the federal action. But again, holding up to $20,000 for WIC funding to be determined next week.
Okay, so will they have to show their WIC card when they go to Clackamas Service Center to make sure that they are?
So for the food, it's
recipient.
SNAP. It's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. SNAP benefit cards, no, they don't. We're totally relying on the service center and the food pantries to distribute food as they see fit for those people who most need it. But no, it is administratively difficult for us to require that.
Okay.
All right, good question. Commissioner West.
Yeah, thank you. So a lot of this has been trying to be as quick as possible. And so it's my understanding that even the lobbyists that we're working with directly with the grocers are trying to get us best pricing to make these dollars stretch. Now they can work directly and distribute directly to these different food banks that Gary mentioned, the Clackamas Service Center and the other ones in the more rural part of our community. And to try to allow them to be as direct as possible. Now, I know the grocers are involved, the lobbyists are involved to try to negotiate the best food price that we can get. We wanted to make those dollars stretch. So there's not a lot of, well, there's really, for individuals that need it, they can just go there, right? So I don't think you have to show your WIC card, but if your baby needs formula, we'll make sure the baby has formula. You know, if you need, some carbohydrates, some fruit, some meat proteins, we'll make sure that they have at least those resources bolstered so they can provide those to people that are in need. So am I understanding, Gary, that they're going to do their best to work with these grocers to get best price available so that we're just not handing out cash, but it's specifically going to go to these essential products that they need? And how are we verifying that that's where that cash is going to be used?
Right. We're strongly encouraging the entities I just mentioned to do that with the grocers, but I'm suggesting we don't try to manage or coordinate that, otherwise it'll be another 2 or 3 weeks. I want to get the money out the door, as you do as well.
There was a conversation about just giving gift cards. I was not supportive of that behind the scenes. We haven't got a chance to talk because I felt like, one, it's impossible to track because we need to be accountable for gift cards. It's too broad, and there's a lot of things at the grocery store that we don't necessarily need tax dollars funding and supporting, right? So that was an option to be quick, but I didn't support that. I think we've pivoted away from that, and rightfully so. But I think this gets kind of where we have been wanting to go. It's a little different, but I think it gets us there.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, well, the effort is, sensitive to the crisis. A lot of things have changed since then, and I honestly thought that maybe this whole thing or CR or something at the federal level would take place And, and the SNAP recipients, which was our issue, knowing that we were trying to do that we didn't have a mechanism to directly supplement or get those dollars to the SNAP recipients. So this is a roundabout way of trying to get food assistance out there. And a number of organizations have stepped up. The state stepped up with $7 million. They decided to distribute that to the food systems that they are aware of. And so in hindsight, and also with some foresight, not knowing when the federal government will actually have the 100% SNAP, I think it's 50% now approximately. Part of me, if $20,000 is that contingency to kind of fill gaps, but I just wondering if a strategy is to identify where the gaps really are, or where they come to our attention that there's gaps. If we completely expend it now, just to distribute it, just to get it out the door versus get it out the door strategically and surgically to areas that need it, I think there's two different strategies that we could apply. Number one, just get the money out, and it should go to food, or to sit back and make sure that in the system where the state's distributing it, that there's any holes or issues where maybe there's no food whatsoever that should be distributed. So just want to just put that on the table as, again, my goal is to be effective as possible with the dollars.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
Can I
Commissioner West.
respond,
Yeah,
Commissioner?
yeah, absolutely.
I agree, and we tried to have that nuanced conversation, and one of those suggestions that I said, both from the dais and early on as we kind of stepped up quickly to do this, was we have these conversations with our service providers, our food banks and pantries. What is the specific gaps? Where can we stretch the furthest? But the more we dove into moving quickly and getting those nuanced answers, it seemed to be really difficult to do both logistically to fill those gaps. And so this was having some trust and relationship with these organizations to have these funds to go directly to the grocer themselves to know what those gaps were. And hopefully, we're hoping that they will use that money for that specifically first, prioritize what you're saying, Commissioner. I agree, and that's what I want. I don't know how we act. Can we do both, or do we have a short-term, long-term strategy depending on how this plays out? Like short-term, we get it out, and the long-term, we have conversations, and I don't know what your thoughts are, but I had that exact same concern.
Chair, could I reply
Yes,
directly?
yeah.
So, for example, I hear what you're saying, and I know the fact that we're dialoguing is really a healthy thing here. So the reason I say that is there's a lot, and I said this before, there's a lot of people that provide food that are not part of either a pantry or I forget what the other word was.
A food bank.
Food bank, yeah,
Yeah.
food bank or pantry. So,
Yeah.
and for example, we're around the corner from Veterans Day. We know that Amen and other providers that
Yeah.
provide food for veterans and so forth, they're not necessarily in that network, right? And I don't know what their needs are, right? And I know our staff did some work, some groundwork apparently, and maybe they have identified that or looked at those areas where I think those needs will fall through the cracks because they're focusing on pantries and they're focusing on food banks.
Yeah.
We also have a lot of faith-based organizations that don't look to banks. They actually do their own thing. Their membership collects food and they distribute it out. I mean, all around the county. It's impressive. I mean, I'm just a big thank you out to all of them. But there's some of those that fall through the cracks, and I just thought that this $100,000 could be that contingency to make sure we're surgically applying it. And I don't know when this whole thing ends.
Not soon enough.
Yeah, and Thanksgiving's around the corner.
Yeah.
The holidays are around the corner. So as long as I got it on the table, I just want to just kind of think a little bit wider and broader about how we surgically apply this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Helm.
Well, the last I heard, the 50% is delayed. People haven't gotten this, and now all the states have to go through and figure out how to redistribute 50%. Apparently, they don't know the half button, 50% button, but just saying, it's not getting there. It's a nice even number. I don't think we have the time to be surgical. I think there's people in dire need, and I think we have to move forward with distributing what we can. And the food banks, the food pantries, they're the boots on the ground. They are seeing what's needed, and I'm hoping that they will, in turn, use this money wisely. because their heart is really in making sure that people are well taken care of. So, and we have someone to come to speak to this.
Live updates.
So Tony Marinick in our office is the lead on this, working with Daniel Nybauer of Disaster Management, Mary Rumbaugh of Health Housing Human Services. Can you give a quick update to address what you're hearing, Tony?
Absolutely. Commissioners, thank you. Tony Marinick, Policy Advisor with the Office of County Administration. There is a team of people having regular calls on this issue. I want to offer a couple of insights regarding the surgical implementation of funding and how to deploy those dollars to specific needs. The reality is that we are hearing anecdotally from partners across the county that they are seeing 25, 35, 45, 100% increases in demand.
Wow.
And that they are stretched thin today. They are going through a week's worth of food in 2 days. So the reality is that we are seeing increased demand. We are also understanding that the state of Oregon's $5 million that they're distributing through the Oregon Food Bank will be distributed through that network. That network, the Oregon Food Bank network, reaches a great many food pantries in the Clackamas County area. It is difficult to map which areas are not covered, but our understanding is that they cover much of the county. The hope and intent of the proposal before you today was to try and get it into the network as quickly as possible and use partners that are ready to take advantage of the funding and deploy it. The intent behind 3 of the rural communities being identified specifically to receive direct allocations is that they are not as well resourced or as well connected to the larger network. And we are also overlaying where our SNAP recipients are geographically and where our WIC recipients are geographically to try and as best we can target those communities that we believe are the most impacted now and already have this demand in place. The question around, sorry, Commissioner Helm, your last point around the, I'm trying to keep a number of things in my head. Would you remind me your question on the last point?
I didn't really have a question. It was more of a statement that I think we need to release this to these food banks and let them decide where the need is the most. My first question was about whether the people who go have to show a SNAP card or something to show that that is they. One of the things that happens in these types of crises, emergencies, is they're abused. We are all aware that they're abused. Now, you'd hate to think that somebody who doesn't need it would go do it. And I had asked this question of the gal at Clackamas Service Center. Yeah. And they're very adamant that this is not, there's so little abuse going on. So, but my whole point was WIC, they specifically need formula. And are these food banks going to be able to get their hands on it? That's something that they can't go get a tub of cucumbers and, feed their baby. So I'm just saying I just want to make sure that the right people are getting taken care of.
The present discussion around the $20,000 for WIC formula is that we're going to hold on to that money until next week.
Okay.
If we do deploy that money to WIC formula, it would be through, we can't use the WIC infrastructure because of certain federal regulations, but the intent would be to target those folks who are receiving WIC formula today. Now, the other point around needing to show a SNAP card or a WIC card at food banks, food pantries, I should say, food pantries within Clackamas County, the vast majority are low or no barrier. You show up, you indicate you have a need, we don't ask questions. And our concern is that if we require someone showing up at the door to show a SNAP card to use the food bank, that they are going to turn away and not access services.
Yeah, and I guess my thoughts are this, just in our conversation with the Clackamas Service Center, again, 9,000 meals a month that they're providing, and you just telling us the dramatic increase. And I'll just be frank, my honest opinion is the federal government moves slow, very slow. The state moves a little faster. And local government, we have the ability to really make quick impacts. And so, again, I just thank all my colleagues for really stepping up on this effort, Ben bringing it forward, and all of us working together on it. I think that, Thanksgiving's upon us. We have a lot of other pressing issues, and I also kind of want to comment that the food banks have been in the business of doing this for years, and I believe they also have really good contracts with where they get their food. And I think it's great connecting them, and we might even get a little better deal. I agree with Gary of kind of letting them work it out. But I would encourage, and this is one of the things I learned, is wanting to help myself, right, and donate, is they really need the money versus food, canned food. And the reason is it takes staff time to go through and verify that it's not expired. And what I've heard over and over, what gives them the mobility is if you make a financial contribution. I give a shout out for Clackamas Service Center, and that they do deploy that throughout the county. And so I would just encourage us to try and be nimble and move quickly. I feel like you and Gary and staff came up. I mean, this morning I kind of got a quick briefing, and I was like, yes. I mean, I was very, very excited that we were able to move this quickly. So I would like to see us move ahead. Commissioner West has a comment.
Yeah, as we go through this, I don't know, I mean, Commissioner Savas and Schrader may know this information. I don't know if we've ever declared a state of emergency due to food insecurity from a federal government shutdown. We moved quick. We were the first. We did not throw our hands in the air. We were very nimble right out the gate to be like, how can we get it done and do the best we can as a local county? We were faster than the state. We were faster than other local governments. We pride ourselves on that. I'm interested in an after-action report once this finally subsides to say, what did we learn in this type of an emergency? What were the actual barriers? How are we prepared for the next stupid federal government shutdown that none of us are happy about? That's just my personal opinion. I threw that in there. But I think it's interesting as this is just a different, nuanced learning opportunity for us. How did we navigate it? What did we learn from it? What could we do better next time? How can we, do we get better contacts? Do we have a better connection to our food banks and these supports in our communities? Did we learn anything new? I think that's all very important stuff that we should look forward to. I'm going to agree with, and none of us disagree, I don't feel like, but I'm going to agree with the thoughts of Commissioner Helm and Chair Roberts on let's do this. Let's get this out. Let's try to keep a pulse on what's going on, and see how we can also be connectors to other resources to the people who have that need in Clackamas County.
Thank you. Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, I think with the additional information that Tony Marinick just brought to our attention as far as seeing that need, I agree. So let's just get it out. I think what Gary proposed as far as the percentages and holding the 20 for WIC recipients is a good strategy. So.
All right, you do not need a motion because you've already directed staff to come up with a plan. So to reiterate, here's what we're doing. $50,000 to Clackamas Service Center, $10,000 to Estacada Food Pantry, $10,000 to Colton Food Pantry, $10,000 to Sandy Food Pantry, total of $80,000, all to be used for food to get out the door as soon as possible. Holding $20,000, we'll bring it back to you if there's a need for the WIC purposes. That's what we'll do.
All right.
Thank
One
you.
last, I wanted to give Martha a chance. She had her light on.
Yeah,
that.
I just had a quick question. We did have one of our produce distributors want to get involved. I don't know if that's happened or not, or if it's even realistic. So. but
We
I was
are in
just-
conversations with a handful of produce distributors. There are some significant logistical challenges in
Yes.
distributing fresh produce.
That's what I think, yeah. I
But
was just thinking from a health perspective, getting fresh food out to people is really important too. But I do know that the logistics and getting it packaged, getting it delivered would be a bear, yeah.
We are not saying no, but we are saying that it will take us time and resources and partners that can accept those resources.
Thank you.
All right.
That's my administrator update. Thank you, commissioners. Back to you, Chair.